Hi, my name is James Weatherford, and I am your instructor for HUMA 1301, Humanities 1, online with Hill College. I wanted to take a little bit of time to introduce myself to you so you can see the instructor behind the course who will be doing the grading. But also, I wanted to talk about the syllabus together, and I wanted to go through the assignments together, and we're going to look a little bit at Schoology, the platform that our course will be given on, and talk about some of the things you need to know about how to navigate Schoology effectively and how to submit assignments and things like that. So first and foremost, like I said, my name is James Weatherford. I've been teaching with Hill College for a couple of years now. I also teach online for a college in Northeast Texas, and I also teach online for Southern New Hampshire University. And I also do a little bit of teaching of writing in English for a couple of different places online and at Weatherford College. So I love writing, so I'll warn you now that writing is a very important component of this course. You will write a lot. I'd say you have to read a lot, but you not really have to read a lot. I do have quite a few selections of texts for you to read, articles, chapter selections from different scholarly books and videos that you'll watch. So also on that note, keep in mind there is no textbook proper. Everything that you need for this course you will be provided in PDF form or a video that you'll view or something embedded onto Schoology. So there's no extra book to buy, nothing to lug around and keep up with, and you'll always have access to the files you need right there on Schoology. And I'll show you a little bit what that'll look like when we go through the course together. So, what are the humanities? That's a good question to ask right off the bat. You might be wondering. I've had students before think that this course was going to be about the human body. They thought it was like an anatomy or anatomy and physiology class. Like we were going to talk about the arms and legs and connective tissue, but no, we're going to talk about what it means to be human, and what the human experience is, but very specifically, we're going to talk about how humans have culture, how humans have literature, how humans have language. It sets us apart in many ways from the rest of the animal kingdom because we communicate. But we don't just communicate, we have philosophy, right? So humans sit around and ponder what it means to be a human. Dogs don't do that. Not that we know of. Maybe we'll find out one day that we just didn't know. But animals were really these complex thinkers. But part of what's made us as humans so unique is, we think, we have philosophy, we have poetry, we have, science and technology, and we have religion. Oh man, how important is that in the human experience that we have religion, and there's beliefs in gods and goddesses. Now, of course, not everyone believes those things, and even the fact that we have atheism is something very unique about the human experience because you're making an absolutist claim that there's not a God, something that other animals in the kingdom may not even be concerned with. So there you have a pretty good example of how even the thought about what exists and doesn't exist, and faith and reason and art is this amazing expression of all of those things that we just talked about, even religious values and ideas, uh, painting and architecture. There's no limit to what we would include in the study of the humanities. Most importantly, I think that I just mentioned the word values. That is something we're going to keep our focus on because we do have values as humans. We have some values that are the same and some that are different. There are arguably some universal values. Not everyone believes that, but you will read an article that makes a pretty good case for it and outlines a short list of human values that are shared, globally and historically. And we'll use some of those values to guide our analysis of art and literature and philosophy, and kind of try to figure out what the human experience is in relationship to culture, art, philosophy, literature, and how values are represented in those works of written works and artistic works, and performing arts as well are included in what we will talk about. So I know that's a lot to take in. In a lot of ways, this is kind of like a philosophy class, kind of. It's also kind of like we're going to study world religion, but it's also kind of like a history class. So we're looking at the historical context of these ideas, these thoughts, these human characteristics and experiences. So it's definitely fun, and there's a lot of information. I enjoy teaching this class because you can come at it from so many different angles. I personally have a background in religious study and theology, and then I also have a master's degree in the history of ideas. And so I'm really fascinated with how the ideas have kind of moved through history, and how they change and how they don't change, or comparatively how someone on one side of the world could have the same kind of idea about what they think God is or isn't, and then someone on the other side of the world has the same idea and they've never met. Why do they have this sort of common comparative thread? That fascinates me. Same thing with some of the art form that we can witness, the way people built their homes, architecture. They may never have come in contact with each other, but they might have some similar architectural designs. And it's kind of like, wow, like maybe humans are kind of hardwired, and in the trajectory of our evolutionary changes, we all kind of arrive at some of the same conclusions and some of the same results, just sort of like we're on autopilot, or maybe we're pre-programmed, and that's something we'll talk about too. What makes humans so human, even when we're so different? How is it that we're still so the same? We may think that we have a different worldview or perspective or belief than someone in another culture, but from the 30,000 foot perspective, looking down, like aliens, for example, would think, well, those are humans. They're very similar. They both do this. And so maybe we think of the human experience in that sense. We're different, but we're the same. And understanding those differences and understanding those similarities, but having respect for them, is part of what we hope to cultivate as students of the humanities. So that's kind of a breakdown of the humanities. As we begin the course, we're going to look at values and myths, kind of starting there. I think that we roll back the clock of history as far as we can go. We end up at the prehistory era, which means there was no written language. So when someone says prehistory, they mean there was no written language, so no one could write down the history. Doesn't mean that it was before things happened. There's always been history, but the key part of history is story, and there have been oral traditions, but there haven't been history, written down stories until we can go back so many thousands of years. But interestingly, even in the disparity of cultures around the world, they all kind of have these similar stories, these myths, these ideas about the origins of the universe, and emergence tales that would say, our people, came up from the valley many, many moons ago. And so we have these similarities in stories where people began telling stories about where humans came from. So we start there. And then values are a guiding principle in this class. So, with that said, I'll move on to giving you a look at the syllabus and the assignments, and we'll take a look at those, and I'll break down how the course is going to be graded. But I can tell you now, we have discussions, and we have exams, and I think there's 4 exams and 9 discussions. And then we have some summary analysis that we'll do, looking at some scholarly works where you will write a summary and you will analyze it. You'll do 4 of those, and then you'll do 4 cultural analysis. I'd say papers, but not really papers, because you're going to use a list of questions that are based on our student learning outcomes, and you're going to answer them, applying them to a film, a couple of different works of art, and a piece of philosophical literature by a guy named Seneca, writing about anger. He was a Stoic. And then I think that, here's the good stuff. So then you're also going to do your own field trip on your own, by yourself. You're going to go to a museum, and you're going to look at an art exhibit, or you're going to attend a fine arts performance, and you'll write a short response to that event, kind of push you to take part in regional and national kind of community by attending one of those events, and you'll write about it. And you'll also write an essay, 5 paragraphs, not very long at all. In the end of the class, you'll turn this in, and it'll be based on religious values. And so you'll choose from Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Islam, and you will identify 3 religious values from one of those religions, and you'll write a short paper on that. So that's the assignments for the class. Really not too crazy. I mean, it's a lot of writing, and there are rubrics and rules to follow that will, they will make a difference in terms of how you're graded and how word count. So if you don't put much effort in and you don't write down very much and you give weak answers, you'll be graded for that. So there are some rules and guidelines to follow, and we'll look at that in detail here in a moment. So with that said, I'll transition from this sort of, one-on-one perspective that we have here, and I'm going to bring up a screenshot version of our syllabus, and we'll look at that together. We're going to start right here on Schoology. If you can see this screen on your own computer, you've probably figured out how to access the course. So this video that you're watching is actually going to be posted on Schoology, but in case somehow you are not already logged in, you get to the course by going to hillcollege.schoology.com and log in using your credentials that you should already have from the college, the same ones you use to log into MyRebel. So here on the landing page for our course, you will find all the course materials in separated folders, designated by units. And although there's nothing here right now, on the right, as you can see, there are upcoming assignments or events. And when something is due, I will have a link there to the assignment. So every time you log in, you'll see when something is due, and you depending on how up to speed I am on that, I'll either have everything that's due in an upcoming, the current unit, or I might have all of the links there, but they'll be there in time for you to do them either way. It just depends. Sometimes I don't. Maybe I'll only release the first 4 units, and then when we get to midterm, I'll open up the other 4. It just depends. Sometimes this course is going to be taught in a 3-week period, like a May mini-mester, or a 5-week summer course, or could be an 8-week course in the fall or the spring. It could be a 16-week course. So it just depends. I usually have some sort of um, method to my madness about when I release folders, units on the course platform, because I want us to be on the same page. Occasionally I'll have a student who will, if everything's open, they'll just work ahead and they'll do all the discussions, and then they kind of check out and they don't come back and ever reply to their classmates, and then so they get a really low mark because they didn't do the full assignment. And then at the end of the course they're like, hey, what happened? And so I'm like, no, what happened to you? So if I can control how I release the units, it sometimes, not always, helps us all stay on the same page. But again, I say all that. You might log in and everything's available, so it just depends. But you will have what you need when you need it. And all the courses that all the units that I'm going to show you here in this introduction are, in fact, all of the units, regardless whether they're all available when you are physically logged in or not. So all those folders are exactly what we will cover in this course. To give you a quick overview, the Start Here folder is what you are doing right now, hopefully. When you log in, you go to the Start Here folder and you go over to Welcome to HUMA 1301 and click this link. So the video you're watching now will be a video that is here posted at the very top. I don't know that I'll have 2 videos. The one you're watching may have been the only video that was there. When I did this, what I'm recording here, I had to do it in 2 separate videos. I couldn't merge them because YouTube decided all of a sudden that they didn't want you to be able to merge together your own videos after having that feature available for so long. It makes no sense. Anyway, very frustrating, so I had to put 2 videos up instead of being able to merge them together on YouTube. But I may have found a workaround, so hopefully I just have the one video here in the top of this folder, and that is what you're watching right now. So that'll be an introductory video. You need to be watching this first day, first thing. You'll also find the syllabus posted in this Start Here folder beneath the introductory video that you're watching right now. And you'll also find a syllabus, exam, and plagiarism policy agreement. All that is very simple. Here's the plagiarism statement from the student handbook. Do you understand what that is? Do you understand not to do it? Questions like that. So that way we can be accountable. And if later on there is an issue with plagiarism, and plagiarism is basically whenever you use someone else's words and you present them as if they are your words, that is academic, or what we call scholastic dishonesty. And it's a very serious offense in higher education, and it can be a minor infraction on your part, or it could result in failing the course. It could result in being expelled from your college. Any number of consequences that can easily be avoided if you understand what plagiarism is and you are careful not to commit it. The easiest way to avoid plagiarizing is by using a style manual such as MLA. We are going to use the MLA 8th edition in this class to document some of our sources in some of our writing. If you don't know what that is, you should go to the Writing Center, go to the library, ask a librarian, Google it, go to the OWL Purdue Online Writing Lab. Google that, and they have explanations for every style manual that exists: MLA, APA, Chicago, Turabian, American Medical, Associated Press. The list goes on, but those are all ways of properly handling people's words from their written work or from videos or television. And you quote it and cite it a particular way so that you don't get in trouble for plagiarism. I want to stress that. I hope you could get all that. I know that's an earful, but take the little syllabus exam and the plagiarism policy agreement, and you'll understand. Read it thoroughly and answer. And secondly, that assignment is key because it's used to determine if you came to this course or not. Since we don't meet in a physical classroom or anything, it's hard for me to judge who's attending and who is not, especially in the first few days of the course as we are figuring out, who is going to need to be dropped, who stopped coming, and who never showed up. We have to document that for legal reasons, according to the state of Texas, especially when there's financial aid involved. We have to figure out a way to know who's in the class and who isn't. And that is one of the ways we will tell, is by completing that syllabus exam, policy agreement. And we will also document your attendance to the course by you completing the introductory discussion. So there's a PDF in here you'll read. It gives a little bit of a few definitions about the humanities, what they are, and you will read through these. These are a few from different colleges and universities, and as well as a federal foundation that puts effort into preserving the humanities. And I took some definitions from some different places and I put them all together so you could kind of get an idea about what humanities are. And then you'll watch this film, Why Study the Humanities, and then you will complete the introductory discussion. So that's basically what you need to do before you really start the course. I mean, that's like day one. Like your first hour with this course needs to be this folder. Very important that you do so. This little warning means nothing, so I'm going to close it. But the unit following, right, is Unit 1. And this is where we'll talk about values, origins, myths, and, in each folder, you'll find all of the material that you need. And so here we have, begin the unit here. There's some reading selections. Then there's some items that you will view in this folder, and an explanation of this article on values. And then you'll do a discussion on values. So just click the link. And if you wonder what these things are across the bottom, those are alignments with our core objectives by the state to kind of track critical thinking and which assignments are going to fall into those categories, as well as I've included some information from the particular course outcomes about studying the humanities. So you'll see some of those alignments when you do the assignments. So that's Unit 1, and just depending on whatever course you are in, there will be specific dates, listed right here in the title of each folder. So if you are in a 3-week May mini-mester, God help you. I'm kidding, but it's a lot of same amount of information, just in a shorter amount of time. Because really, in a full course, a 16-week course, you have 48 hours of face time. Now, you can get those 48 hours into 3 days if you're insane. I mean, we wouldn't be able to sleep, right? Have maybe 6 hours. But anyway, my point is to say a lot of information, same amount of hours, depending on how fast those hours are stacked up together, depends on how these folders will be dated. So if you're in a 16-week course, you'll get about 2 weeks per folder per unit. And if you are in an 8-week course, you'll get 1 week per unit. And if you're in a 5-week course, like a summer course, we'll kind of divide these as evenly as we can. 8, divided by 5. So the beginning and the end of the week, or the unit, the beginning and the end of the unit may fall somewhere in the middle of the week. If you're in a 16-week or an 18-week course, it's going to fall, like ends on Sunday, starts on Monday kind of regime. So we'll see. Just depends what course you're in. And so I'm kind of making a general introduction here because the course is the same, but the formats are different. So you don't see any dates listed on the module folders, the unit folders right now, but you will see them when you're logged into Schoology. And you'll also see your assignments over here in the right-hand panel when they're due, and the links, even those due dates and those links are active. You can click them and they'll take you to the submission page where you can do the assignment. So what assignments, you say? Oh, good question. You in the back. Thank you for asking. The questions, the assignments rather, are pretty basic, and I've already mentioned them in the first portion of this video. But let's go ahead and let's pull up the syllabus here together. I think I have it over here, so I can do it this way. So this particular syllabus that I have already going is in fact for my May intercession class. So you're probably the first ones to see this video, and you're the first ones to see your actual syllabus. So others may be looking at this and thinking, I'm not in May intercession. Okay, I get it. So the information is the same. The only thing that's different is the amount of time the course takes. So your course name will be appropriately placed there at the top. So course description, catalog description. This is a standalone course. It's interdisciplinary, meaning we're going to look at a lot of different academic disciplines to kind of study the human experience. What that means is a little bit of history, some social sciences, sociology, psychology, philosophy. Many different approaches to studying humans will be considered. And this is a survey course, so that means that we are kind of surveying through a lot of time. In fact, we cover basically, somewhere around 3, 4, 5,000 years before Christ or before the Common Era, whichever you prefer. It's up to you. That time period all the way into the 1800s, so AD, Common Era. So, yeah, that's a bit of a stretch of time, and so that's why we call it a survey. We're surveying a lot of information, surveying a lot of different cultures over a long time period, and we're focusing on the philosophical and the aesthetic value factors in human values. We're putting an emphasis on the historical development of the individual and society and the need to create. And that kind of sums up our learning objectives for the class. And I guess I could tell you too, the information at the top that is accurate for contacting me is jweatherford@hillcollege.edu. That's the number one best way to contact me. And if you want to text me, call, you can 415-895-0539. That's the best way to reach me. If you need a quick answer, shoot me a text. I'll text you right back. If you need to talk on the phone, it would probably be best if you arrange that with me, because I can make time to talk to you at any time, but it would be best if you just let me know, like, hey, can we talk on the phone? And if we need to, I'll make a way to contact you by phone. But email and text are really the best. But I do have a 2-year-old son, and I work from home. Being able to get on the phone and talk is not always super easy, but I can do it. We just got to arrange something that works best for us. So I guess in that sense, I don't have any office hours proper. I can arrange any time though. You just let me know and we can get together. We can get on Skype. If you need to talk over Skype, we can talk face to face there. We can do FaceTime if you have an iPhone. We could do a Google Hangout. Any number of ways if you need to talk. We can do one better than a telephone call. We can talk face to face over video calling, because this is the future. Anyway, so the introduction and purpose. Humanities 1 introduces students to the study of human life by examining its creations, including art, architecture, literature, music, philosophy, all that's been developed through history. Basically everything I've already said up to this point, so there you go. And that includes the performing arts as well. Supplies, you have to have a computer and computer access. You should be able to access, computer writing instruments, paper, pens, take notes when you sit down to basically attend your class online. You kind of like you're attending class from wherever you are. But let me give you a general rule. So there's a formula that we use to figure out how much time you should spend in class. So they say, 3 hours for every hour. Now, if you have 48 hours of clock time and you multiply that times 3, okay, you're going to get 144 hours. Now, let me put this in perspective for you. So let's say you have a 3-hour course, you're going to get 3 hours of credit in the end. That means you meet 3 hours per week. So if you're in an online class, that's 16 weeks. For this class, you should be spending 3 hours of face-to-computer time going through the readings and the videos. And then you should be spending 9 more hours on top of that doing homework and writing assignments. Now that formula goes for any class you ever take. I didn't make it up. This is kind of a known fact among college educators. They say 3 hours for every hour you spend in class. So if you have a 3-hour class a week, you should be spending 12 hours a week for that class, and that includes attending classes. So you're expected to attend, is what I'm getting at here. Even though we don't have a face-to-face encounter in a classroom, you are still expected to attend class. It's very important. So you got to come to class. Now here are our learning outcomes, objectives. Number 1, demonstrate awareness of the scope and variety of works in the arts and humanities. 2, articulate how these works express the values of the individual and society within a historical and social context. Number 3, articulate an informed personal response and critically analyze works in the arts and humanities. Number 4, demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the influence of literature, philosophy, and the arts on cultural experiences. Number 5, demonstrate an awareness of the creative process and why humans create. So in a moment we'll talk about the cultural the values analysis writings that you'll do. And that's basically where we're going to apply all 5 of those Um, and we're going to look at some particular works of art and writings and films to really engage those student learning outcomes. On top of those outcomes, we also have the state of Texas that says, in this class, because it's a core class, meaning it's transferable, and it means that it counts towards a degree. It's can be an elective, but it's a required class. So we have some regulations on that. You should be thinking critically. You should be communicating. You should be showing social responsibility, and you should be showing some personal responsibility through the assignments. So you'll see how I've aligned them in the class a little bit to give you some direction and understanding about why the assignments you're doing, what they're intended to accomplish for these core attributes, so to speak. So here you see a breakdown of how the course is graded. We've got discussions, values. We've also got the exams or discussions, values analysis, exams, fine arts, museum visit, and you're going to do a religious values essay. And I'm going to go through all these in a second, so if I'm rushing through, it's just because I'm about to get to the good stuff. And then the summary analysis, which is a little bit different than the cultural or the values analysis. So more policies, don't cheat. Email me if you need to talk. That's preferred. You can text me though as well. Come to class, basically what I just said. So discussions, 25% of your grade. We're going to have 9 discussions. So that's the introductory assignment discussion. And then you have 1 for every unit. Now, I'll tell you now that I'll probably drop at least 1 discussion. I haven't set that up in the grade book yet, but I usually do. And I also will consider dropping, maybe 1 of the analysis from 1 of the 2 categories. I don't know yet which one. Maybe. We'll see. It just depends. If I think it will help, sometimes students are just a little bit below the line, and dropping that grade can help them. Because things happen. Sometimes assignments don't get submitted, and I take that into consideration. And then sometimes I have students that are have a 89.2, and dropping a particular discussion or something might help them get an A, and that's good for their GPA. So, I'm not supposed to, let all those secrets out, but there you go. I haven't done it yet, so, don't bank on it. If it seems like people are just being lazy, then why would I reward laziness? But if everyone's diligently working, maybe they miss an assignment, and if you're going to miss something, let me know. Just shoot me an email and say, hey, look, I didn't do that. I understand it wasn't done on time. In life, it's good to own what you do. Take the consequences for it. It's not always fun, but at least take responsibility for whatever you do. That's even one of our core attributes is personal responsibility. So discussion, as you see here, there's a rubric for how you'll be graded. 25% for each one of those categories. I see a typo. I don't know why there's a little S there, but there is. Anyway, so is your initial post 250 words? That's what's most important for that category, 25%. You engage your classmates well with at least 150 words in the response. You get 25 points for that. If your grammar is, no more than maybe 2 mistakes, you'll get the full 25 points in that category. And then for punctuation, if your punctuation is solid, then you'll go ahead and we'll give you all the points for that. So let me emphasize though, you have to respond to at least 2 classmates. Okay, that's very important. If you only put your single post, then you'll only get 33 points. If you only put 2 posts, you'll get 66 points. If you do all 3, you potentially, if you really do the assignment, you're going to get 100. So, that's the way I grade. Um, if you really put forth your best effort in doing the discussion, you respond to 2 classmates, and you're not skimping out on words, and you're thinking critically, and yeah, you're going to get 100. So it's a great way, and that's 25% of your grade right there. So do the discussions. Don't let that be something that brings your average down. And then we have exams. Here it says no later than 8 a.m. Tuesday. That is kind of a general rule. I don't know that I'd say it's hard and fast. Because here's why. So a test is going to be due, and you're going to submit it on the weekend in most cases. It'll be due like by Sunday, and the specific due dates are going to be on Schoology again. So let me also make sure you catch that. So I'm saying like a full day and the next morning after it's due needs to be there, because I want to grade everything. Some of the exams you'll have to, um, you know, go back and see why you got the grade you got, because I have to manually grade it. And if people haven't done it, I can't release it. So some students can't see their grade, and others, because other people haven't finished taking the test yet. So I do have to cut it off at some point. So I try to give it kind of, at least if it's due Sunday night at 11:59, midnight strikes Monday morning, you basically have until 8 a.m. Tuesday. And I'll put the due dates on there, and I'll bring that up if it seems like people aren't sticking to getting things in on time. I will address it in an announcement. And it's no fun if you didn't get it in and I closed it and released it to everyone and never reopened it again, then you can't take it. So get it done. The fine arts visit response essay. This is where you're going to go somewhere on your own. I've listed a list of places you can go and attend. The Kimball, the Modern, a lot of those places in Fort Worth have free days. I think if you go on Thursdays, it's free after 5 or something. Go to any of those museum websites and you can find out. And here's the rubric and the structure. The most important thing you need to know here is that you have to prove you were there. That's worth 50 points of the assignment. So you have to verify that you were actually there. I've had students send all kinds of things, and they're like, "Will this count?" And I'm like, "No, it doesn't. You're just showing me something that was purchased somewhere. That doesn't prove you were there." I get it. I've actually had students go onto places online and take pictures and try to post them as if they took them themselves, and I'm like, I don't even. Some people get offended. Like, you're trying to insult my intelligence. I don't even really care, honestly. I'm like, you know what? Go for it. If you can trick me and you can really pull the wool over my eyes and convince me that you were there and you worked hard at it, you know what? That's all on you. Good job. You won. You win. But when it's a poor effort, I'm not like, how dare you? I'm like, come on. You could do better than that. Just do the assignment. I mean, really, that's most important. You want to fool me and get away with it, that's between you and God. You want to lie and cheat and steal, whatever. So let's be responsible. Let's be participants of society and the class, and let's really attend a real event and take some sort of picture, some of our receipt, our ticket stub, a selfie, something. It's really up to me to judge whether you've actually proven yourself or not. It's not hard to do, but it has to really prove that you went and attended the place. I've had instructors from, that work in the fine arts department at one of the college that I work for, and they send an email to the entire campus saying 5 students showed up to the play tonight, they took selfies, and they got up and left. If you had students who were coming for an assignment, they didn't attend. And so, um, people think they can cut the corners and get away with it, but it's not even worth it. Just do it. What the assignment says, attend the event, prove you were there, do the writing. It's easy, easy kind of. I'm going to tell you now, I'll give you 100 if you just do everything in this short assignment and you really go. Um, because we're trying to encourage you to participate in community, especially the community of the arts. So the religious values essay is 12.5%. After we finish the unit on the world religions, you are going to select the religion then that you're going to write about. You don't have to start writing on it then at that point, but you will already have selected that and be ready to start writing on it and have something well written, that you've written some revisions, some you've edited yourself and proofread, and you've had some, maybe gone to the writing center, had someone look at it, that you've actually put forth your best effort. But we're going to look at 4 of the world religions. We cover Christianity and Taoism and Confucianism as well, but we're going to focus in on these 4: Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, and Islam. I'm not putting Christianity on the list only because it's really so familiar. I mean, come on. We live in Texas. Most of us, we're in the Bible Belt. Come on. Most people are familiar with Christianity and Christian values because some may disagree with this, but America is kind of built on those kinds of values. We tend to call them Judeo-Christian values. So really, if you do values of Judaism, you're getting pretty close to the heart of the values of Christianity anyway. But I'd rather us put our focus on these 4: Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, and Islam. And I've given you an exact outline for how to write your paper, and I've given you some exact formatting rules and the grading rubric here, how I'm going to tally up the points for your grade. So everything is clear in these guidelines. I'm not going to go through them one by one. I hope that you will, line by line, understand this, but we're looking at values. That's what makes humans so unique, and there's a handout in the first unit that you will read and study, that's about the universal values, and then there's another handout that deals with kind of personal individual values. Any of those values can be represented through religion, through your job, I mean, your day-to-day life, your society, your culture. So they don't have to necessarily be religious, but everyone knows that religious values are kind of part and parcel to the whole religious experience. You've got to have values. There's some sort of moral law, moral lesson that's being taught. And then we're going to do the values analysis of these 4 works here that you see in the little box. And this is simple, very straightforward. Here's your rubric. You're going to refer to that article by Kinnear about universal moral values, and you're going to refer to the handout that that's included in Unit 1 about values, personal, individual values, and you're going to apply information from both of those handouts, both of those articles, and you're going to use them to literally just answer these 6 questions. I've kind of numbered them inside the rubric. So just do like a short answer. Write it up on a piece of paper. Number 1, how, when, where was Seneca's On Anger created? And you're going to answer that. Number two, why do you think On Anger was created? And you're going to talk about use your understanding of these texts and how they get at speaking to the human condition. What are they saying? The texts in the I think honestly, writing about texts is not too difficult. Writing about film is not too difficult. Number three and number four, you're going to be looking at some pretty complex major works of art coming out of like the Renaissance and the early Baroque period. So they're really famous pieces, and you'll learn more about the artists behind those pieces when we cover them in the class in those units. So that's 10% of your grade, 4 assignments. Then the last 15% of your grade, I think it's the last 15% of your grade will be based on summary analysis of some scholarly works that are selected in the class. So this is 2 paragraphs only. Don't stress. It's single spaced. It's 1 full page, but it is only 2 paragraphs. And I'm telling you exactly what to say here. First sentence, tell your reader what they're reading. This is a summary analysis of, just identify the work. What's the main idea or the theme of the work you're writing about? Summarize the main points of the article. Okay. And then I have some very specific details about don't do analysis in the summary paragraph. Don't do summary in the analysis paragraph. 2 separate paragraphs that will cover 2 different parts of the assignment: summarizing and responding, analyzing. And I've given a very straightforward breakdown here in the handout, and I've posted these handouts that we're looking at in the syllabus. They're also linked to every assignment on Schoology. So when you click on the assignment, it'll have a link to these guidelines and rubrics for each of the assignments again. So they're always right there. So you have no excuse if you didn't write them correctly. I'm giving you very straightforward detail about how to format your essay, how to format your response. I've even given you a sample. This is an example. So not including the black bar at the top, but the text inside the box. That's basically what your paper will look like. 2 paragraphs. The only spacing you're really going to have is between your heading. You have to set up the document to remove space between paragraphs of same style, but I tell you how to do that in the guidelines here. But yeah, so there's a lot here in the syllabus in these directions, but I'd rather be thorough, and I'd rather give it to you so that you can know what's expected of you and what you can expect from me. And yeah, so that's the syllabus. And like I said, all those guidelines and rubrics are also posted on Schoology for each of the assignments. But that's it. Depending on the length of the course, like I said, it could be May mini-mester, and you're seeing this video. It could be a 5-week summer course. It could be an 8-week course or a 16-week course. But it's the same amount of information. It's universal in this sense. It just depends on how long of a course you've signed up for. Yeah, so there you go. Like if you need to contact me or anything, just call or text me at 415-895-0539 or send me an email at jweatherford@hillcollege.edu. That's all I have for this introduction to the course. I will be in contact through announcements and feedback, and if you have questions, just reach out to me.